Shout out to S Jock for coming through on the Cash App and with the links to the news stories. You know, there are long stretches at a time where he's the only one coming through on the Cash App. The only one. And he sends more links to more news stories than anyone else as well. And I do my best to keep up. But I got to tell you, man, y'all let him surpass y'all in terms of supporting the channel. He sends more at this point and more frequently. Shouts out to the subscribers as well, to the Jet Black Air Lounge. This story was sent to me by him, and it caused me to do some digging to find out more stuff. But I'm going to tell you what link, and I'm going to tell you what I learned from the link that he sent, because it was eye-opening. In Houston, a 14-year-old named Azaria Bankhead caught a stray bullet in a teen club. Here's the problem with that. It was not a teen, as far as people could gauge, that did the shooting. The teen club was a venue, but adults were allowed, and they could BYOB, I believe, but they could get in there as well. And apparently some grown folk, maybe teens, maybe grown folk, got to shooting, and witnesses saw him shoot in the air. After that, nobody saw him because they were all headed in a different direction from him. But somehow, Azaria Bankhead caught one, and King Randle caught another. King Randle's mom did not talk to the news because she feared retaliation, thinking he may have been targeted. Azaria Banks' friends were sure that she happened to catch a stray, but they had to see her die. What made it worse, and see, the link told me only about Azaria Banks, nothing about King Randle. I had to dig and find out who was the 16-year-old boy that also died that the first news channel wouldn't even identify. And it may have taken time to identify him, but that's not what they said. They didn't say he remains unidentified until we can contact the family. Nothing of that nature. Nothing was said like that. So it made me wonder if they even cared about the boy as much as they did about Azaria Bankhead, because both were teens and both got taken out. It also drew a line under our dysfunction, because even when you say, well, we're just letting the teens have fun, teens gonna be teens, and we're letting them have their good time and blow off some steam. She was 14. What the F? And on top of that, why do you have these clubs where grown folk can get in with teens and party? Why do you have situations like this? Why do you have this capacity? I went to teen clubs when I was a teen in my little funky hometown, and I'm telling you, I got tired of that early on. I was glad to see people I knew there, but you know what? I would have been glad to see them in a Popeye's chicken or something. I didn't have to see them in the club where I couldn't hear what they were saying. I wanted to hear them. Growing up along the Gulf Coast, and this happened in Houston, growing up along the Gulf Coast and hearing that same type of music playing after all these decades I've been away brought me back. The dysfunction hasn't changed, but it's gotten worse. I know advancements just deteriorations when it comes to us. Yeah, I'm sorry, but we got a lot of work we're going to have to do. And I'm not even going to sit up and say that you and me and the audience do. We got a lot of work we got to do to get away from it. Those that cannot leave have a lot of work to do to fix it if they can. And they probably cannot. You see, this is not something that America really wants fixed. It didn't make a difference to anybody in power if King Randle was done away with. It didn't make a big difference to anybody in power if Azaria Bankhead was done away with. Made a bit of a difference, but not a big one. But when it came down to King Randle, the system was doing what it was supposed to do. It led to the culture that we have, not even that we, but it led to a culture that we have. And that culture led to this outcome. Yeah, you and I can't fix this. We're not allowed. We can love our moms, we can love our grandmoms, we can love our daughters, we can love our sisters. But if we do not get to rule, then we don't get to fix. We cannot fix this. The community talk and rhetoric is going to be that if there'd been more black men to mentor, maybe this wouldn't have happened to King Randle. King Randle was at a party making music. He was either enjoying music or making music. He wasn't starting stuff as far as we can make out. But what we do understand is that when you are a black male and you got to live in the community, you are going to catch it unless you were entertaining everybody, you're going to catch it. And by everybody, I mean even your enemies, to the point they're not enemies anymore. You are going to catch it, and you're going to catch it more no matter how you respond. And one of the reasons is because the guys that are stuck there are still having to look at sisters, and sisters have a minimum of violence they demand from men. It doesn't have to be that Azaria Bankhead demanded this level of violence. She didn't have to demand it. She belonged to the demographic that does. And what this meant was that there was an extra bullet, a spare, whether King Randle was targeted or not. And if he was not targeted, it means there was an extra for him too. But that's the thing, you see. You're a nobody to a lot of the sisters if you ain't doing something violent or entertaining the masses, and everybody can't entertain. I've been in those scenarios before, along that Gulf Coast especially, because you got extra dysfunctional homes that these folks are trying to escape. You got extra dysfunctional social circles. You got these broads that are trying to be basic broads, but pick up a baller. And you got normal run-of-the-mill men with normal pockets trying to pick up attractive women. And the women you want ain't got no reason to be at the club. And the men they want ain't got no reason to be at the club. Certainly not going looking for mates. That's the club scene in and of itself right there. Then you try to have a club for teens. Well, I mean, what you going to do to keep the alcohol away? Then you open it up to adults. Now you can't keep the alcohol away. And then on top of that, you got some Gulf Coast ninjas populating the whole thing. What did you think was going to happen? We are grimy. It's our culture. It's our way. You can't talk much positivity. I mean, for all of the conservatism that we seem to have compared to Atlanta, you can't talk positivity with us. We don't want to hear that. And then on top of that, we got to be honest. The men don't get to call the shots. And all reproduction is selected to and agreed to on the basis of how violent or how entertaining the man is. Preferably both. What I'm saying is that our community is like a prison, but an open air prison with access to guns. Just imagine expanding prisons to the sizes of neighborhoods and introducing firearms and weapons in there. But they're already inmates. That's the community. That's already what we are. So you in the audience have plenty of work to do only to make sure that you can get out of there because you cannot change it. You and I are going to have to look at that cesspool. We're going to have to look at what AC calls the rat community and understand that we can't fix it. Sure, we'd like to, but we can't. The optimism necessary to believe that you can makes it even more impossible because of how we deal with reverse psychology. We can't do it. Jamil Al-Amin did a good job of cleaning things up in the West End of Atlanta for a while. And before you know it, he's being chased all the way to Alabama because somebody else got into a shootout with some deputies. And the shootout only came when they were there to try to serve a warrant to arrest him for something that wasn't even a crime to begin with. Not driving a stolen car, driving a recovered, formerly stolen car. Not missing a court date, but being present on a day that the court was closed due to snow and then reopened later the afternoon. Everybody else that was not there after it reopened was merely given another court date because they didn't miss it. Only he got a warrant. And this is because he was Muslim and black and heterosexual and dared to do what he could to clean up a community, working with the police on top of that. I mean, there have been rumors about what all it took, and there may have been some people that did certain things. One guy actually told me he knew that there were some dealers that wouldn't leave at first. And there's some horrible, horrible, brutal things happened to them, but that these were not on the orders of Jamil. He told me this. If you decide you're going to clean it up, one or two things happens to you. They come and get you. And they try to bury you alive like they did with Imam Jamil, or somebody from amongst us comes to get you. And they bury you dead. Those are the two things that happen when you and I try to clean it up so that we don't have more situations like Azaria Banks and King Randle. And it's always like that. And it always has been like that. As I said in my last upload, we have built before, but they always come burn it down. And now they don't have to burn it down. Wherever we are, they got Boom Shika and Bonquisha to demand an unacceptable minimum level of violence, a floor of violence that is unacceptable. So, therefore, we can't even build. And what they built for us, we can't change. That's what that comes down to. There are going to be more King Randles no matter what we do to stop it. And that does break my heart. There are going to be more Azaria Bankheads no matter what we do. Yeah, that's heartbreaking. AC may not think so, but I do. At that age, 14, yeah, it's heartbreaking. But we're not allowed the jurisdiction. I'll put it to you like this. Think of what happened there in Houston, which is Harris County. And then think of another county nearby. I'm not sure which counties neighbor it, but some neighboring county. Think about that. No matter what the hell happens in Harris County, or even within the city of Houston, the Sugarland, the Pearland, the Dallas police, and the Beaumont police are not going to get involved. Under no circumstances are they going to involve themselves in that. Much like no matter what happens in the north of Mexico, no matter who is left hanging from a bridge, how many are left hanging from bridges there, God forbid. No police agency in the United States is involved in those because those are Mexico's internal affairs. And this is what we have to understand. It's a question of jurisdiction, and you, black man, have been denied jurisdiction every single time, except when there's blame that needs to be assigned. And then it was your jurisdiction. You understand? There was nothing any of us could have done to prevent what happened to King Randle or Azaria Bankhead. There's no sort of mentoring or counseling that we could have been able to give because you can't enforce it. You can't even force people to hold to their own promises and keep their own words. You can't do it. But Boom Shik and Bonquisha will definitely somehow find a way to punish men that do keep their word and hold their promises. Especially their words and their promises are really good or they're peaceful. I'm not going to go much longer than this. This is, I think I made the point. I think y'all got it. I hope that what I said helps. Thank you for listening. And thank you, S-Jock. Maybe one day we'll be able to build something elsewhere where we'll be able to keep this from even developing in the first place. But where you live right now ain't it. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Air, where the phrase Jet Black is also a verb. Keep Jet Black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.